Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here where we work on advanced topics in programming and build some production ready software. Okay, so yesterday we discussed about Rust and how to make a file system watcher with Rust. Today we're gonna be going more into the web development sphere and we're gonna be creating uh, an SSE, that is a server sent event. Okay, so what a server sent event basically is, you have WebSockets where both the client and the server are transferring data between them, or two bodies are transferring data, for example a transmitter and a receiver, uh, in real time. But when we talk about server sent event, is a connection between the server and the client, where the client requests information once and the connection keeps coming from the server. So the client doesn't actually send information to the server, but only receives it. That's why we call it server sent event. So we're going to be building a server sent event and Express. Um, let's start. As you can see, I just did one thing, that is, if we say ls, I have a main.js, package.json, node modules, uh, and what I've basically done is I've just installed Express. So just install Express and set up the command npm run dev. I'm using nodemon. Now it should work and everything should be uh, ready and no further configuration is needed. So let's start by editing the main.js file. So just let's say mvim main.js. So the first thing we want to do is we want to uh, import Express. So just say const express equals require Express, right? Then after that, what we do is just set up the app, right? So just say const app equals express dot, sorry, just express, and that's it. Now we can set the app on a port. So just say app.listen and let's pass in a port. Let's say port 4000, let's say, and let's just say, mm, let's open an arrow function. Let's say console.log server listening, or let's say server running on ports 4000. And we're not going to be using environmental variables or stuff like that because we just want to focus on the server sent events side. So if we save it and if we check our running, we can see that there's a problem. Say after arguments. Okay, so we formatted it wrong. Maybe we need this here. And yeah, it's running now on port 4000. So what we can do is we can just say, sorry, let me open Chrome. And once Chrome is opened, let's say localhost port 3000. So now it will not return anything because it's not set up. We just have the server listening, we don't have it responding to any actions. Actually, should be for 4000, and it should say cannot get / or the root because we don't have any routes. So let's set up the root route. Uh, let's just say uh, app.get on the root. Just say request and response. Take those two from Express. You should know basic Express. It's not a beginner Express tutorial. It's more focused on server sent events. So now we want to say is response.send, and we want to send this. For now, let's just say hello. Okay, let's just send this to the browser and see how it works. So let's refresh. Yes, and you can see hellos here. Now, server-side events works with HTML on the client side and Node.js on the backend or the server side. So we need to create a file called index.html in the root of our uh, project folder. So we have created that, and let's just rename index.html. Okay, let's just quit here and say nvim index.html. So here we are in our HTML file, and what we have to do is just you can say HTML. Uh, then we don't need anything, just a basic HTML and a body. That's all we need. We're not going to be setting up headers, title. It's not about that. Today is about just focusing on server-side events. So let's in the body just to make sure it's working. Let's say give it an h1 and say hello. And if we save now and if we refresh here, you can see that it is not working. And why is that? Okay, that is because we have not set up the server to send the HTML file. So let's do that actually. So let's just quit from here and let's get here, and instead of just sending hello, what we want to do is send file. So response does send file, and we want to say from the root directory, just say index.html, and this now should work. And let's try it out. So uh, okay, actually we can do it like this because Express expects us to do an absolute position of the file. So what we can do is say path and say path.join, and we want to join the two paths underscore their name, and from the current directory we just want to get index.html. So that's all this. For this to work though, we need to import path, right? So just say const path equals require, and we can just say path because Node.js path is a Node.js standard library, and we don't have to install anything. So if we click on if we save and if we now refresh, okay, perfect. So it's now working as we've expected it. So now that we're serving an HTML file, how can we actually uh, have the server send events to the client? It's very simple actually. The first thing you need to do is set up the SSE route. So just get route. Let's say get stream because that's what we are actually getting, a stream of information. Let's say request response, and here what we want to do is uh, return a server send event, and this is very easy actually. It's just about the headers. You don't this doesn't have to be made in Express or Node.js. You can do it in whatever language. If you want, you can do it in Python, Rust, Go, whatever. You can do it in any language as long as you set the proper response headers. So response and request headers from the client side too. So let's do that. In Express we can say response.set headers, and so let's set a couple of headers. The first header we want to set is cache control, and this is just we don't want to any cache to be stored. So we just say cache control, no cache. That's simple. Uh, then we want to say content type, and this is a bit different. So it's not text slash HTML, but rather it is text slash event. stream. Okay, so this text slash event stream is a special type of content which is sent from server sent events. Okay, moving on, let's just say access control allow origin, and this, let's give it a star because we want the stream to be accessed from anywhere, whether it's Google, whether it's its local host, up or 4000, up or 3000. We doesn't care. We don't care because we are actually for just testing it and not deploying it. So if this is a production application, then make sure this is your domain, like something like http domain.com, and not just all, because it might bring some security risks. Final header is on the server side. The final header is connection. This is straightforward. So connection keep alive is after the first stream has been sent, keep the connection alive so we can send more information. If if it's the connection dies or the connection closes, we can't send information anymore. So we need the connection keep alive uh, header so that we can continuously send information. Okay, so next thing we want to do is actually send the information. So just a response the write. Okay, this is, we are actually writing a buffer and not just sending string. So let's just say respond to like the write sent to the client. Okay, now what makes server sent events special is that the connection is alive forever or until the server actually closes the connection. So until the server closes the connection, whatever we write here can run on the servers on the client side. So let's just say set interval. Uh, Now, you know, in JavaScript there's the set interval, which is basically just basically it just keeps doing something on a set interval. For example, let's say 1000 seconds here. Let's take this and paste. Now, what this code will do, if you're familiar with JavaScript, this is nothing new to you. It's just on a set interval or 1000 here, it will just write to the response and send a buffer. Okay, send to the client. It will send this buffer to the client every 1000 seconds. Uh, so now what we can do is we can just save, and our work here is done. If there's no errors, yeah, there aren't no any errors. So uh, let's just get out of here and go to the index.html file. Now from the index.html file, what we want to do is we want to access the stream that is being sent. So it's very simple here too. We just need a script tag. Uh, then we need something called an immediately called function expression. Uh, if you're not familiar with this, the syntax might look a bit weird, but don't worry, it's nothing uh, scary. It's just a function that you don't need to call it, as it calls its own, uh, as the function calls itself uh, just as it is being declared. Syntax is like this, okay? So we just have two uh, brackets, opening and closing. So on the first bracket, what we can do is we just create the function. So it's a async, and let's use an arrow function here. Uh, so it's formatting. Um, yeah, so now this is an immediately called function expression. So just to check it, let's say console.log hi, and let's just save it and go here, open our inspector tool, and let's go to the console. uh, and let's refresh, and it says hi. Okay, so let's refresh again. It says hi because we are not actually calling the function anywhere. It's immediately invoked. It's immediately called. Okay, as soon as we create the function, we're calling it right there and there by using this syntax. It's a weird syntax, I know, but it's nothing really complicated. So now the reason this is an async function, by the way, is because we're going to be using await and async await asynchronous programming fundamental uh, values and properties. We're going to be using some concepts from asynchronous programming. The first thing is we want to be fetching the string continuously from the backend or from the server side. So we just say const response, res for response, and we say await and fetch, and then just forward slash stream because we are sending the data through a route called get stream, right? Then we just, for the stream, we can do uh, this a simple thing. We need a header, so we need uh, to accept some kind of response, right? We are accepting an event stream. If you remember, we said uh, in the code, we said content type text slash event stream, and here is the same thing. We say headers, but this is a request header, uh, not a response header, because the previous one is for responding. Respond and text stream, the previous one said, will be this one will be saying accept event streams. Okay, so simple. Let's just create a header, say accept, and this is telling the browser what type of headers to accept, and we just say text slash event stream. And just by doing that and closing it here, okay, just by doing that we have accepted text stream, so we are now set to be receiving buffers. So let's actually, you can think of this as an array. Buffers are basically structured as an array in JavaScript. So you can say for, by the way, this is a weird syntax you're about to see, but don't worry, I'm going to explain it to you. Const reader equals response dot body dot get reader, which is a function or a method. Then closing, two semicolons, and we just open the for loop, close the for loop, and we are ready to accept and read or iterate through the response or the stream being given to us by the server. Okay, what are we doing? What is this weird for loop syntax? So first of all, we are saying const reader equals response dot body get reader, and we can't say response.json because we are not receiving JSON or not receiving text slash HTML. We are not receiving a string. We are receiving a buffer, which cannot be read by saying response.json. We have to say response.body.getReader, and using this getReader method on the response body, we can read the buffer and uh, change it back to a string value that we are actually sending from the server. So the two semicolons here is that in other times you say let I equals 0 as long as I is less than 10, for example, 10 I plus plus. But here we want the stream to be continuously uh, read and be printed out to the console, and that's what we're gonna do. So we don't want it to stop. So if we don't want it to stop, we just never give it any condition or any uh, iteration, increment or decrement. We don't give it anything, so it will run forever. So on each run, this reader constant will be this value, so it will always be unique to the stream. Now, so how can we read this? It's just very simple. So still a buffer. We are reading the buffer, but it's still a buffer. And we don't want a buffer, but we need to convert that buffer into a string. And that's actually very, very simple. Let's say let's take the value out of await reader dot read. That's simple. When we call the read function on the reader, it converts that to the original message, which was a string, right? So when we say awaits reader dot read, it's awaiting until the reader is read to the original string, and we are taking the value from this result. That is very simple. And final thing, uh, we are not actually now we are not taking the buffer and changing it to a string, not quite yet. So we have changed it into a decoded, uh, not a decoded, but a readable uh, constant or a readable variable in JavaScript. So JavaScript can read it, but we can't. As humans, we cannot just see it and understand it as a string. It's still a buffer, but the buffer is now readable. So the first part, we access the buffer. We made it readable for JavaScript, uh, and now we make it readable for us. So it's just a const chunk because we are reading or converting a chunk of the stream. So a new text decode, and this is text decoder is a function uh, in JavaScript that helps us decode buffers. And you say it does decode, and we pass it what we want to decode or what we want to change. So we pass it the value from here, and now we have changed it to the string, to the original string we have been passing from the server. And if you remember, the string was sent to the client. Okay, that string, right? So you say response, that's the response dot write sent to the client. We're gonna go back and check it. And what we want to do is just simply console.log this chunk. Uh, Sorry, console.log chunk. So now if there are no errors, we can save. Everything seems fine here too, and we can just refresh, and every 1 second the result is getting into the browser. It's getting to the client side, and it's being read and console.logged onto the console, right? So uh, if you can't see it here, it's been 21 seconds and the server is still sending the results of the stream, and the client is reading the stream and converting it to a proper readable string and console.log in it. So it's very actually we can just to check how this is working, we can go back to the main JS file and let's change it and to send to the client, and let's change this send from the server exclamation mark. And now if we just get here and refresh now, we should start send from the server. So whatever we're sending there, it's being uh, broadcasted, or is being sent to the client, and the client is reading it. So this is basically how you create SSE or server side event. It's a very powerful tool, and it's very performant. And sometimes you don't need WebSockets for real-time communication. All you need are server side events. But again, documentation for this, while it does exist, but it's not really uh, very easy to understand and like to implement right away. So I'm making this video to help you out. So again, thank you. That yesterday's video did great. I'm actually impressed. So again, I'm going to be making more videos on advanced topics, advanced technologies, tech stacks, and in the future I'm going to be also making beginner friendly videos. So subscribe, like the video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.